Ra. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the infinite Creator. We communicate now. Questioner. Is our sun this planetary system, as we know it, a sublogos, or the physical manifestation of a sublogos? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner. Then I am assuming this sublogos created this planetary system in all of its densities. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is incorrect. The sublogos of your solar entity differentiated some experiential components within the patterns of intelligent energy set in motion by the logos, which created the basic conditions and vibratory rates consistent throughout your, what you have called, major galaxy. Questioner. Then is this sublogos, which is our sun, the same sublogos, but just manifesting in different parts through the galaxy, or is it all the stars in this galaxy? Ra. I am Ra. Please restate. Questioner. What time saying is there are roughly 250 billion stars, or sun something like ours in this major galaxy? Are they all part of the same sublogos? Ra. I am Ra. They are all part of the same logos. Your solar system, as you would call it, is a manifestation somewhat, and slightly different due to the presence of a sublogos. Questioner. Now, all of these, let me be sure I'm right then. Then our sun is a sublogos of the logos, that is the major galactic logos. Correct. Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner. Are there any sub-sublogi that are found in our planetary system that are logi that are sub to our sun? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner. Would you give me an example of what I will call a sub-sublogos? Ra. I am Ra. One example is your mind-body-spirit complex. Questioner. Then every entity that exists would be some type of sub or sub-sublogos. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct down to the limits of any observation, for the entire creation is alive. Questioner. Then the planet which we walk upon here would be some form of sub-sublogos. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. A planetary entity is so named only as logos if it is working in harmonic fashion with entities or mind-body complexes upon its surface, or within its electromagnetic field. Questioner. Okay. Do the sublogi such as our sun in our major galaxy, do they have a metaphysical polarity, shall we say, positive or negative, as we have been using the term? Ra. I am Ra. As you use the term, this is not so. Entities, through the level of planetary, have the strength of intelligent infinity through the use of free will, going through the actions of beingness. The polarity is not, loosely, as you understand polarity. It is only when the planetary sphere begins harmonically interacting with mind-body complexes, and more especially mind-body-spirit complexes, that planetary spheres take on distortions due to the thought complexes of entities interacting with the planetary entity. The creation of the one infinite Creator does not have the polarity you speak of. Questioner. Thank you. Yesterday you stated that planets in first density are in a timeless state to begin with. Can you tell me how the effect we appreciate as time comes into being? Ra. I am Ra. We have just described to you the state of beingness of each logos. The process by which space-time comes into continuum form is a function of the careful building, shall we say, of an entire or whole plan of vibratory rates, densities, and potentials. When this plan has coalesced in the thought complexes of love, then the physical manifestations begin to appear, this first manifestation stage being awareness or consciousness. At the point at which this coalescence is at the livingness, or beingness point, the point or fountainhead of beginning, space-time then begins to unroll its scroll of livingness. Questioner. As the love creates the vibration, I will make the statement first. Let me say, I believe that love creates the vibration in space-time in order to form the photon. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is essentially correct. Questioner. Then the continued application of love, I will assume this is directed by a sublogos, or a sub-sublogos. This continued application of love creates rotations of these vibrations which are in discrete units of angular velocity. This then creates chemical elements in our physical illusion, and I will assume the elements in the other, or what we would call non-physical or other densities in the illusion. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. The logos creates all densities. Your question was unclear. However, we shall state the logos does create both the space-time densities and the accompanying time-space densities. Questioner. What I am assuming is that the rotations, the quantized incremental rotations of the vibrations, show up as the material of these densities. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is essentially correct. Questioner. Well, then, because of these rotations there is an inward motion of these particles which is opposite the direction of space-time progression, as I understand it, and this inward progression then is seen by us as what we call gravity. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is incorrect. Questioner. Can you tell me how the gravity comes about? Ra. I am Ra. This that you speak of as gravity may be seen as the pressing towards the inner light love, the seeking towards the spiral line of light which progresses towards the Creator. This is a manifestation of a spiritual event or condition of livingness. Questioner. Now, gravity we know now on our moon is less than it is on our planet here. Is there a metaphysical principle behind this that you could explain? Ra. I am Ra. The metaphysical and physical are inseparable. Thus that of which you spoke which attempts to explain this phenomenon is able to, shall we say, calculate the gravitational force of most objects due to the various physical aspects such as what you know of as mass. However, we felt it was necessary to indicate the corresponding and equally important metaphysical nature of gravity. Questioner. I sometimes have difficulty in getting, let's say, a foothold into what I am looking for. I am trying to seek out the metaphysical principles, you might say, behind our physical illusion. Could you give me an example of the amount of gravity in the third density conditions at the surface of the planet Venus? Would it be greater or less than Earth's? Ra. I am Ra. The gravity, shall we say, the attractive force which we also describe as the pressing outward force towards the Creator is greater spiritually upon the entity you call Venus due to the greater degree of success, shall we say, at seeking the Creator. This point only becomes important when you consider that when all of creation in its infinity has reached a spiritual gravitational mass of sufficient nature, the entire creation infinitely coalesces, the light seeking and finding its source, and thusly ending the creation and beginning a new creation, much as you consider the black hole, as you call it, with its conditions of infinitely great mass at the 0 point from which no light may be seen, as it has been absorbed. Questioner. Then the black hole would be a point at which the environmental material has succeeded in uniting with unity, or with the Creator. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. The black hole which manifests third density is the physical complex manifestation of this spiritual or metaphysical state. This is correct. Questioner. Thank you. Then when our planet Earth here is fully into fourth density, will there be a greater gravity? Ra. I am Ra. There will be a greater spiritual gravity, thus causing a denser illusion. Questioner. This denser illusion then I would assume increases gravitational acceleration above the 32 feet per second squared that we now experience. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. Your entities do not have the instrumentation to measure spiritual gravity, but only to observe a few of its extreme manifestations. Questioner. This I know, that we can't measure spiritual gravity, but I was just wondering if the physical effect would be measurable as an increase in the gravitational constant. That was my question. Ra. I am Ra. The increase measurable by existing instrumentation would and will be statistical in nature only, and not significant.